some.
No, it's from my side.
That's right, no worries. But perhaps you wanted some kind of reassurance or praise, but because you didn't get that, you feel a sense of loss, right? This, what can seem like a very minuscule thing, can then become a behavior, or can form a behavior that will drive you for the rest of your life. So if we kind of comes like to the adulthood, so you see a lot of impact-driven people who are driven by their success, right? And they think that what they have makes them successful. But what's actually happening is that they're being driven by this need for praise, right? They need to be recognized, they need to be seen, they want to be heard. In reality, so they're using this platform with their business. And I'm not saying that for a second this makes them a bad person. There's zero judgment in this. But what's driving their need to be recognized, to be seen, is the fact that one, two, several, whatever situations in their childhood where they didn't get the recognition they felt they really craved, will drive their behavior now. And again,
but what is the solution in this case?
Well, sure, but like I said, in order to understand it, in order to get the solution, you have to kind of really delve into it. You have to understand that, like I said, sometimes even these most minuscule things will drive our behavior today, right? So, how do you find the solution for these? Well, again, there's lots of ways, there's lots of modalities that treat trauma, right? You can go down a traditional psychotherapy route. You could try CBT. I'm also trained in cognitive behavioral therapy, so I'm also a qualified therapist. But in reality, what we need to do is to be able to go back to these childhood settings, because the majority of our traumas, the majority of our behavior is formed from childhood. So if you were to look at someone like the table leg effect, right? So no situation ever sits in isolation. And our beliefs are formed from assumptions we make on experiences, right? So, for example, you might have this one experience of rejection where you didn't get the praise you needed. And then you have a second. And you might, like, at first you might be upset, and the second one you might think, oh, whatever. And then when it comes to the third, fourth, fifth, you start to form beliefs about yourself. Well, obviously, I must not be good enough, right? And if you look at, most people have some kind of thought where they're not good enough, they don't love themselves enough. The coaching industry actually talks about imposter syndrome. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But like, oh, you're driven by your imposter syndrome. I'm going to put a line under that, just put it to a side for a second, because it's his own kind of kettle of fish. So we form these behaviors, and they become entrenched in our psychology, in our mindset, in our mental health and well-being. All these things kind of come together, right? So in order to overcome these kind of thinkings and beliefs, like what I do with my clients is I have like a several approach to effect. Right?
We call this belief patterns.
Sorry?
We call this in the NLP techniques, we call this belief patterns.
Yes, exactly. So what I do with my clients is I take two approaches. I take several approaches, but the key thing is awareness, right? So if you're aware of where your thoughts are, where the direction of your attention is laying, what it is that you're thinking, what drives your behavior behind you, then you have much more clarity in order to change your belief, right? Because all of our beliefs, our behaviors, our actions, they're just choices that we make. Sometimes those are conscious, sometimes those are unconscious, sometimes they're very much subconscious. So the subconscious.
Yes, exactly. But don't forget that we are conditioned due to our environment. Sometimes, not sometimes, but often. So we are taking action unconsciously because we are conditioned.
Exactly. That's
because of the situation where we are in. And that's why this is awareness. Like, so we have to give insights to the people to understand why does appear such behavior.
Absolutely. So like I said, some behavior is conscious, some action is conscious, sometimes it's unconscious, sometimes it's subconscious. The subconscious, obviously, like we talk about things like counter intentions are laying in our subconscious, right? They're those drivers are right underneath. So what I do with my clients is, like I said, I have a two effect approach to bringing up awareness. So one of them, like very, very popular at the moment, is shadow work. And I've created an entire group of techniques to enable people to actually really get in touch with their shadow. Now, the interesting thing about shadow work is you have lots of people that will tell you need to eliminate your shadow, get rid of your shadow. Shadow's bad, get rid of that. It's awful, it's terrible, get rid of it. No, 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 no. Your shadow actually is your friend. And the reason why I'm gonna say this next bit, your imposter syndrome is also your friend. So people say that your imposter syndrome causes you to sabotage yourself, think bad, all these kind of different types of thoughts. Actual fact, your imposter syndrome is that thought that naturally the questioning yourself makes you raise your game. Because if you're sat there going, maybe I'm not quite good enough. Okay, so what do I need to do to get better? What's the next level that I need to bring myself up to, right? The other thing about imposter syndrome, it actually keeps you grounded. It stops you getting into this kind of ego mindset of, well, I'm the best like coach in the world and I'm this, that, and I'm the other. And see, that's also survival mode and self-sabotage, right? So your shadow is your friend. And this is why I teach my clients, is to actually make a meaningful connection with your shadow. So part of what I do is about making meaningful spiritual connections with ourselves, like so coming right down into our shadow, into that lower aspect of
I'm
us.
calling this connecting with your inner child. It's very important and very powerful when you connected with yourself.
Yes. So I have a map of the, I suppose, like human consciousness. Three aspects, right? So you've got the shadow self, your inner child. So your shadow self is the storehouse of all of your trauma, all of your beliefs, that all of the stuff that happens to you in your life, your shadow holds an opinion of it, okay? Your inner child is who you are, however, stunted by trauma. So your inner child is your true self, but stunted by years of trauma. And the other aspect is the higher self, right? So who you might call higher consciousness, your soul, your Christ consciousness, whatever spiritual aspect you want to put to this higher level of your consciousness. So I teach people these three aspects. So in your shadow is all of this stuff, all of these beliefs, all these ideas about who you are. So this idea of eliminating that, well, actually effectively it'd be like cutting off a foot. Right, you're going to remove an aspect of yourself. Your shadow can be your friend. And if you make a meaningful connection with your shadow, if you communicate with your shadow, so this is what I teach my clients, you learn so much valuable information about what's driving all of your behaviors. So once you understand there's a problem, right? So recognizing there's something. So, but let's say something that we're all probably used to. You got a client. It's a new client, perhaps you're engaging in that conversation, and you get that you have your initial call, whatever your onboarding process is. You have that first call, and they tell you, I need to go away and think about it. And you're like, oh God, no, not again. It's happened, right? And you start to feel all this anxiety. Now, it might well be a couple of things, right? So people will tell you, well, they don't understand your offer, right? Or people might say, well, you know, I don't know, that it's because they've got thoughts and feelings about their money. No, actually, sometimes people just need 10 minutes to go away, or a week to go away, whatever it might be, to go away and consider an offer, right? Because often there's a lot of money involved. That's okay. People need time to kind of really like sink that in and kind of process it. Okay, but in that moment, you're in this moment, you're sat there and you're anxious, and you're thinking, oh my God, are they going to come back? Well, what does that mean? This person might go, oh, I'm really sorry, I'm not interested. And then what happens then? You feel really bad, right? You start to judge yourself. Oh God, I'm obviously not good enough. Oh, it must be that imposter syndrome that all these coaches talk about. Well, here's an idea. By the next time you're in that situation and you're feeling that anxiety, recognize, okay, something's wrong. I'm feeling anxious. I need to do something. Well, go and communicate with your shadow, right? So literally, you can just simply close your eyes and make that intention. I'm going to connect with my shadow, and then have a conversation, an inner dialogue with you. The other option would be to get a pen and a piece of paper and just kind of start journaling and writing out your thoughts. Though your inner self is going to communicate with you, but your shadow knows what's going on. So rather than eliminate it, you make a connection with it. And the thing about your shadow is it comes bearing gifts. So another thing, like working in the spiritual world or being a spiritual person, you get told your anger is a bad thing. don't get angry. No, get angry, right? Your anger is a gift. Your anger is energy that can propel you in situations when you're being perhaps abused, manipulated, treated badly, someone's stepping on your boundaries. It's that energy that says, no, hold on a second. I really don't appreciate you speaking to me. I don't appreciate that disrespect. That's your anger. One of the key issues in the world is everyone's suppressing their anger. They're like stuffing it down into their shadow. And the poor shadow's like, oh, I can't take any more of this. And eventually it just erupts into rage. You end up with other kinds of issues, right? Self-expression of your anger is really important. And this is a gift that your shadow comes. So all of these qualities that you think are bad about you, whatever they might be, they all come bearing gifts. And this is why making that meaningful connection with your shadow is really important. Now, how does that relate to this whole idea of survival mode? Well, when you look at what survival mode is, it's an unconscious impulse that drives our behavior. Yes. So when you're, especially like if we were to use this in the business world. So, for example, harassing potential clients, okay, and I'm going to say something that's going to probably upset a few people, but that's okay, because that's what I do. Telling clients to go get credit cards, to go get loans, to pay for your programs, says more about you and your thoughts about your money, because you're effectively saying, I'm that desperate for this sale that I need you to go get yourself in debt. But no. We're not going to call it debt because we want to change the narrative to make ourselves feel better, right? Because we're being driven by our survival mode. So no, it's not debt, it's an investment. These kind of unconscious, shadowy thoughts.
Yes, but this is a very important topic for all the coaches, because when we are in a conversation, when we are dealing with a prospect, and when we want to close the deal with a client, it should be very spontaneously, and the client should be getting the feeling of comfort. I mean, from all the point of views, and not discomfort, you know. So what is causing the discomfort in this case?
So for starters, it's for you to relax. Okay, if you don't get this, don't think this sale is the end of all ends, and that's another aspect of survival mode. Like if it's an immediate need, so it's that belief that, oh God, if I don't get this sale, that's it, it's all over for me. And there's a whole stream of thoughts that come with that. I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, all of this stuff, okay, comes from being driven by your survival mode, which gets
lack of confidence.
Yeah, exactly. That's brought from your trauma, create an unmet need. Boom, you're in this survival mode, this constant drive. If I don't get it now, then I'm not good, I can't do it, I'm going to lose my house. All of these anxiety, stress-inducing thoughts. Just remember that just because someone doesn't like your flavor doesn't mean that that's the end of you, or that that's any kind of reflection on you. Because at the end of the day, everyone likes a different flavor, right? Not everyone likes vanilla ice cream. Some of us like chocolate. If I was to choose chocolate, vanilla is not gonna feel rejected because they didn't like the flavor, right? I like chocolate. So it just might well be that your offer isn't what the person's looking for. It might well be that they just don't have the money. That like all things, right? How many
there could be many reasons, yes. And exactly. Outside this all, it's what we have to take in account, because we don't sell. We are here to transform the life of another people to the better. And if we are gonna create this kind of awareness, and outside the sales, it's as well the exchangement of our personal energy.
Absolutely. And actually, fact, you talk about selling. Okay, so let me tell you this, right? I've been in business 2 years. I've never sold a single program.
Exactly, and this is a perfect statement, like so that we can teach another people.
Yeah. So Okay, so if we go back to our cell-like situation where we're feeling all this stress, so we recognize something's amiss with us. If you're not feeling love, peace, contentment, happiness, one of those really good, like
Confidence
nice
as
feelings,
well.
yeah, confidence, any of those good, like vibrational feelings, then something's amiss, right? So you can go with your shadow, have that conversation, and your shadow's going to go, well, it's because you were stressed, because, and then back when you were a kid, like your parents always put this extra pressure on you whenever there was a test coming up, and it always made you feel really bad. You're like, oh God, I remember that. Cool. So what do you do with it next, right? You understand, you have the awareness. Awareness is great, but you need to do something else with it. So the other thing that I do is I take my clients to their inner child. So that it's that timeless part of you that, like I said, it's the true self stunted by years of trauma, right? And lots of people go, oh, you know, you shouldn't be childish or childlike. That's really bad. We're brought up with these ideas that we should put aside childish imaginings. No, no, no. And I tell my clients, this one most important thing. Like, when was the last time you spent Saturday morning in front of the TV watching cartoons with a bowl of cereal? Do that. Your inner child will love it, and you feel so nurtured. This is the part of you that needs the love, that needs the nurture, that needs to feel safe and feel warm. And when you're stuck in survival mode, your inner child doesn't feel safe because you don't feel safe. You're not, like you said, you're not feeling that confidence.
Yes.
So you can take this. So when you look at it, you go, okay, so as a kid, my parents never perhaps, and again, I'm going to make this little point here that says that this isn't about blaming our parents for all of the things that we didn't get, like we didn't get the Barbie dream house or whatever it was that we wanted. It isn't about that, but it's about recognizing where we have unmet needs that are driving our behaviors today, right? So now, in this moment, we get to be the parent perhaps that we always wanted to. So our higher self effectively becomes our inner parent, our inner guardian, okay? And we go to our inner child, and again, this is a meditation, right? So you can, I have a specific way that I teach people to do this. You can simply close your eyes, to make that intention, okay, I want to connect with my inner child, and go within, connect with this young, small, beautiful aspect of yourself. And then whatever that is that you're missing, so the praise that you didn't get from your parents, the support, the recognition, whatever that might be, hold your inner child. If it's related to a specific age, so for example, let's do that test idea. You're 12 years old, you're stressed, your parents didn't support you. Hold your 12-year-old self in a space of love and peace, compassion, and say to them, you're amazing. You can do this. You've got this. Whatever it is that you feel you needed to hear, or that you need to hear now, say it to your inner child, right? You get to be the guardian. You're the parent. You're going to take all that stress and all that anxiety. And believe me, if you just did this one thing, or these two things, sorry, the shadow and the inner child, you did these two things, you would have the ability to heal more of your trauma, more of your pain, change more of your beliefs and patterns than any other program that you could probably buy. And I have.
But yes, but this is exactly what is causing mental blocks and emotional blocks. So that's what and the coaches, not only the people and journalists, should realize that this is exactly what is causing the blocks. Because so we are here to give them awareness and to understand what's going on, why they cannot succeed. And I have something interesting as well. I have created the identity model, which I have integrated into my 6-7 high-ticket coaching program, which is related to our vision and how has been formed our identity. So could you talk more about this, because this is related as well to our lifetime line, you know, along our life, how everything is evolving and why. So everything what is happening in our life affects enormously, so everything in our life, even our relationship with our parents, with our children, our personal relationship with a partner, even to build up a relationship so in our environment or business. I know that you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, sure. So if we go back to this idea of like of looking about how from the earliest points of our lives, like everything from a child's, like children are sponges, right? I know this from being a parent myself. Okay, children are sponges. They're soaking up every like terabyte of information from the world around them, right? Your unconscious, your shadow, effectively soaks all of this up. This forms the building blocks of your entire personality, your entire identity, the core aspect of who you are. Okay, and again, like I said, people don't understand when people think about things like trauma or painful situations. They like to think about things in the biggest terms, like sexual, physical, that kind of stuff. But like I said, lots of trauma is very, very intangible. So even those things, you're soaking up all of those experiences throughout your life. And as you grow and you develop, you're building more of that personality. Now, one of the other things that I do is I work with Jungian psychology. So I use the archetypes, because the archetypes are the primal energy patterns that make up aspects of human consciousness. Okay, so when you're in certain ages, those patterns, those energy systems, they come online. So for example, like from 0 to 4, it's like the divine child. 4 to 8, it's the precocious child. Excuse me. 8 to 12, it's the hero, and then 12 to 16, what Freud called the Atittude child, I call the child of the great mother. The energy is misunderstood. It's about a child's drive to connect their energy with an opposite divine energy. So masculine to feminine, feminine to masculine, right? Even as a gay man, it doesn't matter. Basically, it's our ability to connect with something higher on ourselves. So these things, these patterns, these archetypes are formed in a very specific way. However, given the input from the environment around them, will misshape, or perhaps these archetypes will hit into their shadow. So for example, I'll give you just one, like the divine child has two. One is the weakling prince, the other one is a tyrant. So one is like, I'm always just put upon, I just like kind of take it, whatever's coming along, you know, I don't anything for an easy life. The other one is like, well, I'm going to throw my toy out of the pram and I'm going to kick off and stamp my feet because I can't get my own way, right? So when these things, these archetypes, these shadows come up into our adult lives, again, they drive our behavior, right? They drive our impetus. They're coming from our unconscious. So if you look at, if we would go back to this kind of sales business, because obviously we're talking about coaches, yeah? So if we look at the high chair tyrant becomes the tyrant when it grows up. So that tyrannical, high pressure business using fear-based tactics. The other one, the weakling prince, okay, cool. You don't want to work with me, that's fine. I love you, bye. And obviously, one just pressures and bullies everyone into sales, the other one doesn't. Now, you mentioned the word success. Here's an interesting thing. So I'm going to bring this in.
Yeah.
So our understanding of what success is differs person to person, right? People think that being successful is having lots of money, which means that if I've got lots of money, I can buy a big house, I can buy a fast car, I can buy lots of clothes. If success is what you dream of, that's all you need. All those other things mean you're trying to, wait, there's still an unmet need. There's still something I don't have, and I'm going to fill it with all of this stuff. Now, I'm going to say this, there's nothing wrong with having money, right? There's nothing ungodly or unspiritual about having money. Money's just an energy that we use to buy stuff, right? There's nothing wrong with having stuff either. I have stuff. I live in a beautiful home. It's cool, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But when we're using things and stuff and people and sex and money and jobs and whatever it might be to fill a void that's within inside us, guess what? There's an unmet need. You need to kind of go back. You need to fix it. You need to fill it, right? And it's so for me, like my barometer for what success is has nothing to do with how much money I make. Has nothing to do with that. My barometer for success is about how many people I have a positive impact in, right? How many people's lives I change. Well, I do that near enough every moment of my life, every conversation, I'm doing something that has a positive impact. Then guess what? I'm successful and I feel good, and that's all I need. So again, this is because I've done the work on myself. I've met most of those unmet needs. I'm sure at some point they'll come back up, something will happen, and that's cool because I've got a whole suite of techniques that I can use to help me. But in terms of my identity and who I am as a core of my being, okay, I'm not driven by anxiety. I'm not driven by all those stresses. And if someone doesn't want to buy from me, that's cool. I wish them the best of luck because it has no impact on who I am. It's not a reflection on me. I might sit there and go, well, okay, perhaps I could have done that conversation better. That's cool because I'm learning. I'm in a place of growth and development. I'm not going, oh my God, we're go again. Because guess what? Those kind of conversations get you stuck. But saying, okay, the next time I'm in that situation, what would be the better words to use? Bigger and better questions, you'll bigger and better results, right? Growth mindset, all of that groovy, jazzy, NLP coaching and all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't reflect on me. I won't allow that to happen because at the end of the day, I probably just dodged a nightmare client or whatever it might be. My life is bad because just because that person didn't take me, I know there's going to be 3 or 4 behind them. I'm not going to allow distress. And I'm going to leave with one final point. If you constantly stress about getting clients, you miss opportunities to get clients because you shrink inside yourself. You're stressed, you're anxious, you're worried, you're thinking about the electricity bill. All of those kind of things will keep you stuck. If you just allow yourself to be open to the possibility, guess what? Possibility will come knocking at your door. That's getting out of survival mode.
Yes, let's talk as well about the acceptance, because what many people don't understand that before they get the abundance that they really wish in their life, they should go on a higher dimensional level and to accept everything in their life. And what I have seen in the real life that many people, they are struggling with this problem. They want, but they don't know how to accept, how to embrace the abundance. They don't know how to connect with the abundance.
Yes, absolutely. And that's actually a very good point. You're right. A lot of people have what's known as a defense against receiving, right? They want, like you said, they want the abundance, right? But they don't feel good enough. They worry about what it would mean. That's still a survival mode. They're still stuck in survival mode because they're fretting and worrying about, well, will the money change me? What will happen? What does this mean? Questions, questions, questions. And not all of those questions are questions that will elevate them, that will bring them into a higher state of awareness. They're questions that are going to bring them down. You're right. So although I would challenge the idea of accepting everything that comes your way, don't accept everything, because not everything that comes your way is meant to be for you. Sometimes you just have to understand the knowing between what's right for us and what's wrong. So actually, even though I've got, like, I don't know, 5 clients booked for this afternoon, I might only take one of them because the other 4, whilst they're going to give me a lot of money, might not actually be the best fit. And that's a really key point. Again, when you're struggling and you're surviving, and I know I've been in business 2 years, I've only been successful for 6 months of those because a lot of my mental mindset thinking and all of this stuff was not in alignment with what I wanted, and I was still stuck in some of that survival mode, which is odd because that's what I help you with, but because I understand from my experience where I went wrong. And part of that is not just accepting those 5 people, 5 people, I'm going to make 20 grand or whatever it might be. Yes, ka-ching. No. If anything, if you've got 5 potential prospects and you all want to buy, take 1, because guaranteed that the other 4, you have to understand whether or not these are actually really good fits for you. Because if you're sat there going, I don't really feel I feel a little bit uneasy about this person. If you're feeling uneasy about them, know that your intuition is speaking to you, right? So don't take them all just because they're money, right? Be grateful for the one that you did, because gratitude, again, opens you up into a space. But you can go from gratitude, which is very much like, oh, thank you, God, for everything I have. And that's cool, right? But you can go into appreciation, because whilst gratitude sometimes feel a little bit like supplication, like I said, oh, thank you, God, we can actually go into appreciation, which actually opens itself up, because we're just in a place of love, we're in a place of openness, we're in a place of acceptance. Now, I really appreciate this. And you think about, like, the difference between saying, you know, I'm really grateful for you, to I really appreciate you. There's a total energy difference. So
Yes.
appreciate the experiences that come along. And even those people that didn't buy, appreciate them as well, because you may have, if you, rather than feeling bad about it, if you allow yourself to appreciate the learning experience, you go, okay, right. So probably definitely don't want to use this word, this word, this word, this word. But if I do this, 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 and this, it's going to probably work out better. And then you get to try it again and go, oh, okay, I'll make a different decision, right? Appreciate all of those experiences because they're learning opportunities. And, you know, again, there's so much in all of these online spaces. Some of it's helpful, some of it's not, some that you resonate with, some of you won't, but just appreciate whatever comes along, whether it's that free course, appreciate it. If it's that free call that someone offers you, like, okay, sometimes it can be a bit like tiresome taking like 20 free calls a week to listen to someone talk about how they can help you. Be a bit appreciative, because sometimes out of that 15 minutes, there might be one line that changes the way you think, and you think, ah, okay, cool, fantastic.
Wake up call.
Exactly, exactly. Just be appreciative of those moments. Again, appreciation will bring you out of that survival mode, because again, you're not looking at what you don't have, about what you wish you could have. You're appreciating what you do have, and the more you appreciate what you currently have, the more of it you'll see. And that doesn't necessarily always translate to you'll have more of it, but what you'll see, you'll have more love and appreciation for what you do have. It will become that much more brighter, much more attractive. You might only have 3 clients at the moment, but if you appreciate that, you're like, wow, I've got 3 clients right now. Last week I had none. I feel really good. And the more you feel good about stuff, the better and more feel-good feelings come in. But again, if you get stuck into really stressed, really worried, really anxious, you'll shrink yourself. So yeah, appreciation. It's a fantastic.
Yes, it's a fantastic topic. I have recorded a video about so positive vibes and how to keep in balance our energy and how to share so positive vibes with the world, with the people in general around us, because what we are focused on, that's exactly what we are attracting, right? And even the people on our path, it works by the same way. Just look at these connections. So it's amazing, because we have the intention and we want to help the people, right? The coaches. I want as well to ask you the last question about giving and receiving. So let's talk about this process, which is essential for us, for coaches.
It's really interesting, actually, because obviously the whole concept of giving is like, it's better to give than to receive, is as old as St. Francis of Assisi. And it's been around the spiritual world for a very long time. And like, for me, I love to give value. I love to give and give and give and give. However, if you go back to that previous question, well, you know what, you have to be open to receive something back. So I've had clients and I've said like, right, this is the price. And it's been that transformative to them. They're going like, I really feel bad. I gave you this amount of money. I want to give you more. Now, very interesting point. At the very beginning, I'd be like, oh, I don't know. Can I do that? Is that okay? Is that allowed? I don't know. Am I violating some spiritual karmic law? And I'm like, and at first I would go, you know what? Why don't you pay it forward? And that sounds lovely, yes. But the other persons, you can see the disappointment that they really want to give you something just to say, oh, I really appreciate you. And I recognize this and I went, okay, cool. You know what? Thank you ever so much. I'm so grateful for that. And what I'll do is I'll take that money and I'll do something positive with it, whether it's enriching my life, enriching something that I care about, or whatever it might be. But I'm open to that receptiveness. Okay. But the other thing, actually, there's a really important thing about just we're giving, right? As coaches, teachers, healers, whatever it is, our program is our gift, right? That's our giving. So we give, we go, right, this is what I do. I've got this amazing program. It does this, it does that. It's cool. It's going to change your life. You're going to be amazed. Like who you were 6 weeks ago, you're going to be in 12 weeks, it's going to be totally different, right? And then it comes down to the asking for the money bit. They're going, right, so, you know, you kind of get a bit sweaty and you're a little bit like, ooh, it's $5,000, or it's whatever it is, it's $2,000, it's, you know, whatever, it's 300. Your ability to ask for money is equal to your ability to receive, right? So if you were like an employee before, if you live in an employee mindset, okay, you'll think of yourself like, I don't know, let's say we'll take an average salary in the UK, 18, 19,000 a year, right? So you have been working for however many years, and your current salary or your salary in your last job was X. And then somewhere in your mindset is the idea that, well, I'm actually only like kind of worth like that kind of amount of money. My one tip, get rid of this idea that who you are is worth a number of value. When you don't get that amount of money, you'll feel like crap. So when people say like charge what you're worth, no. Charge what the transformation is worth to that person. Yes. Don't put any monetary value on yourself, because you will just feel crap. Right. So your ability to ask for what you want to sell for is related to how much you think you're worth, related to your previous job, previous employment, right? Remove those kind of ideas. Get into the mindset of thinking that my ability to ask for money for what I do is related to how much of an impact, how much this person is going to appreciate what it is that I'm going to do for them. That's a totally different energy, okay? And if that person says they can't afford it, accept it. Don't judge it. Don't get into any of that. Go get a credit card or any of that like high pressure sales nonsense, because all that does is it sends a message to the universe, sends a message to your energy that I'm in that much of a competitive mode. I need this sale that badly that I will bully someone into doing that, right? To receive, you need to be open to it. If you look at it this way, if you were going to drink a drink right now, you wouldn't do it with a closed mouth, would you? You pour all over yourself, you'd miss it. You have to open your mouth to drink. So you have to open yourself to receive this money, and you have to be willing to be able to say, and like you said before, that word confidence comes up. You have to be confident in what you're doing. And by one pro tip, but I learned this from a drag queen years ago, you have to be willing to buy it yourself in order to sell it. Because if you wouldn't buy it, there is no way that you can offer this to someone else, because whatever it might be, you're like, oh, I don't know, will I buy that? Yeah, no. If you're gonna without selling, if you're gonna ask money for this, you would have to be knowing, confident that if you have this money, or if you were going to buy this program, you would actually buy it, because your customer, your buyer, your client, whatever it might be, will pick up on all those things, because lots of what we communicate is unconscious, and we pick it up all of the time. We're always communicating non-verbally, unconsciously. People will pick up on that lack of confidence in you. So again, be open to that, and know that not deserve, but know that this is something for you that's going to enrich your life. It's going to enrich. It's going to, whatever it might be, whatever. Like for me, I look at it like, well, you know, it puts a roof over my head, puts food on the table, gives me a life, just this, that. Like that's how I'm open to being paid when I get paid.
We have 10 minutes, and wow. I would like to talk about forgiveness and why it's so important to forgive.
Absolutely. Why is forgiveness so important? Well, the first thing, for anyone who's never engaged in any kind of real therapy, or perhaps been on a spiritual path, actually even some people are on a spiritual path, will misunderstand what forgiveness is, because for some reason we have this unconscious idea that forgiveness is letting someone off the hook. Like that whole Christian, like I was raised as a Christian, so turn the other cheek and let them slap you. And like eventually you're going to think, oh, I'm not going to let you slap me anymore. So forgiveness actually has nothing to do with the other person. In reality, what it does, it actually lets ourselves off the hook. It just creates a space between us and that situation that enables us to process whatever thoughts, whatever feelings, whatever emotions, whatever's coming up for us in relation to that. And in that space to process, we get to learn, we get to grow. But fundamentally, forgiveness is really important. If you're living a life with constant conflict with other people, you're in conflict with your colleagues, with other coaches, your family, your spouses, your kids, like everyone's in conflict with their kids, especially when the kids get to teenage years, it's like a nightmare. But if you're in that constant competition, like arguing and conflict with other people, something is going wrong. So practicing forgiveness for those scenarios, again, you're not letting anyone off the hook. What you're doing is you're creating a space for you to understand and become aware of how perhaps you might actually be contributing to that. Because this is another thing, right? We have this whole idea about people being victims, victim mindset, like you're either a victim or you're a perpetrator, or if you're a victim, you can become a perpetrator and vice versa, right? If we remove these kind of concepts out of our awareness and we stop seeing the world in terms of victim and perpetrator mindset, we're not a victim. Like I could look back at my life and say some of the situations, the trauma, the abuse that I've been through, I could well and truly slip into victim mindset and victim mentality and go, oh, what was me? My life is so terrible. No. I'm not a victim.
But some of the people, they are in the position of a victim intentionally.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, this whole idea
through manipulations.
This is the whole thing about being a victim, is that we're conditioned. Like I said, society, the world around us has these entire messages about who specifically people are. So if you're this person, if you're a guy, you're more likely to be a perpetrator. If you're a woman, you're a victim. I don't know, if you're a gay man, you're meant to be this. If you're this, you're that, or this. It has all these unconscious like messages that we're plugged into, that we're connected with, that form our understanding, our belief structure, the way we see ourselves in the world. And one of these things is this whole concept of victim. But in that, if we understand that we're no longer victims, then that means that in some way, perhaps we in some way contribute to it. Now, I'm going to, like, disclaimer at this point, if you've suffered a serious sexual assault, this is not me saying this is your fault. This is not about victim blaming, because that's just gross. But what I'm talking about is those arguments perhaps we have with our family members, partners. There's something unconscious that quite often that we contribute to the world around us. And sometimes that can actually be, if we go back to our archetypes and our shadows, if you're the weakling in everything, if you're always shrinking back into cowardice, if you're not expressing how you feel, expressing your feelings, then effectively you're allowing this to continue if you're not standing up for yourself, right? So in a way, unconsciously, and when we say unconsciously, that means we're not consciously aware of it, right? We didn't make a decision, go, I'm going to sit here and let you walk all over me. No, that's not what happened, right? It's an unconscious process. We're being driven by something that makes us do this. So when we create this space, when we go into this place of forgiveness and we just understand like how this situation has come about, awareness creates knowledge, right? Knowledge is power. The more knowledge that you have of something, the more awareness you have, the more you create wisdom, the more you have the power to change the circumstances you're in. So that's the one aspect about forgiveness. The other aspect about forgiveness is it cuts you away from relationships that don't support you. So if you're constantly, you might have, for example, as a child, I was abused by my parents, right? I could continuously think about that all the time, and I could be carrying my parents around with me wherever I go. But through practicing forgiveness, I got to let them go. I'm no longer carrying the weight of all of that emotion with me. So forgiveness not only creates like a space for us to process, it creates a space for us to grow, to let go, to move forward, to live the life that we want. It just removes those energetic connections that hold us back. So I like to think of it like carrying around a backpack. So you got this backpack on your back and it's full of all of your emotions, all of your traumas, all of this shit that you carry around with you, and it's weighing you down, which is another thing. You ever notice how so many people have back problems? That's about posture. No, it's actually about the emotional weight you're carrying behind you. Take your backpack, open it up, start like shaking it out, go, cool, I'm going to take this. Right, so I had this argument with my mum 20 years ago and I'm still really cross about it. You know what, I'm just going to forgive that because I can't change it. I can't do anything about it now. And my constant thinking about it isn't helping me. So I'm just going to forgive that. I'm just going to let it go. So that's why forgiveness is fundamentally important, and self-forgiveness. Right. So I've talked about abandonment, but there's self-abandonment. Like we talk about abuse, but there's self-abuse. We all get into these self-like spaces where we treat ourselves really badly. We don't love ourselves enough. So actually, oh my God, we're all the best at telling ourselves how bad, crap, ugly, fat, stupid, whatever it might be. So self-forgiveness helps. It's the antidote for judgment when you think about it, judgment of others, and it's certainly self-judgment. Because here's another thing, when we're talking about like this victim kind of mentality, everyone's judging me and no one likes me. Actually, that's more, yeah, that's more about a self-judgment.
So thank you so much. In my opinion, this is an amazing interview, because everyone needs advice and guidance, because we all are in a learning process. We need to learn from each other. I want to thank you so much. And I appreciate so the fact that you have found out the time to dedicate to all of us. And so I hope to see you soon during another interview. I wish you a lot of success, and I see you soon. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Dan.